Welcome to the Upshot. It is Thursday, October 6th, and today is the start of the final major of the season, United States Disc Golf Championships. And for the FPO, it's an A tier. It's an important A tier, but it's still an A tier. It's the Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championships. I'm in Rock Hill right now. I mean, not while I'm recording this, but by the time you hear this, I'll be in Rock Hill. And looking forward to the action. It's going to be beautiful weather this week. Sunny highs in the upper 70s. And we've got a lot to talk about with making our picks, USDGC, over-unders, all that stuff coming your way in just a little bit. I'm Charlie Eisenhood, joined by Josh Mansfield. And Josh, we've got a lot to get to today. We've got some great mail. I got to take some huge Mulligan L's. We have some... we also have some news. I want to get to that straight away. Disc Golf Pro Tour has announced the purse and the title sponsor for this year's Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship coming up just a couple weeks. And the title sponsor, Barbasol, a 100-plus-year-old shaving company. And the purse this year, $302,000, coming in on the over for the over-under of 300,001 cent. Josh took the under. And I mean, Josh, basically you were right. Like in the general gist of things, you were right, but you weren't right.
I did something to offend Jeff Spring in our last interview, and he pitched in $2,000 of his own money to spite me. It can't be like $300,002 because that would be too obvious. We had to do two couple thousand, but I feel personally spited by this purse. Never thought I would say that.
Once again, this sets a record for the biggest ever disc golf purse. It breaks its own record from last year of $250,000. And it will also be the biggest ever paydays for the winners, $35,000 to the winners, and $2,500 just for being there. So the all of the money keeps going up. The winning, top four, just being there. I mean, a couple of years ago it was $1,000 just to get knocked out in the first round, and now it's $2,500. So continued increased rising of this purse that continues to set the bar. It was the first tournament to break the $200,000 mark. It's now the first tournament to break the $300,000 mark. Josh, this is once again impressive stuff from the Pro Tour.
It really is. They continue to be able to pull in outside sponsors with recognizable names, and already have seen comments from people under this article. Charlie, you put up an article on Ulti World's website with just the details that we've talked about. And some of the comments were people saying, I've never felt loyalty or attachment to any brand that I've ever used shaving, but knowing one supports disc golf means that I will. And that's exactly what the point of sponsoring the Disc Golf Pro Tour is. Disc golf fans are an incredibly loyal base who will use products. They may not go out and buy something like LL Bean, for example. I was a little bit more skeptical about how many people are going to go out and now purchase LL Bean. But when it comes to something as inconsequential as like picking your shaving cream off of the shelf, would not be surprised if disc golfers start reaching for Barbasol. And that's the power of that kind of sponsorship. And so congratulations to the Pro Tour. I think it's exciting to continue to get just big company names that aren't even, it's not outdoor wear. It is just a sponsor who wants to have money in the game.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, it almost feels normalized at this point. The fact that they have this massive payday and that they have a sponsor of note.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think on the whole, I thought that I was expecting there to be more sponsors this year in general. And most of the sponsorships in the 2022 season were disc golf internal.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had the Epic Games thing, but it was a little weird. It was sort of there. And what was that exactly? I don't really think we ever got clear answers about that. But, Barbasol, that's a big name, mm-hmm. right? So I will say this. The other thing that's notable about this that I think is going to slide under the radar for the most part, but I don't think that it should, is that this deal with Barbasol was brokered by an outside company, the Collegiate Sports Management Group. And basically what this company does is they connect brands with, sponsorship assets. So for the most part, they work, hence the name, with colleges. So, University of North Carolina was looking to get sponsors for whatever, whether it's at sports teams or just general university things. This is the kind of company that helps broker those deals. And I think one of the challenges for the Pro Tour has been that they haven't had this intermediary, because this is how a lot of these deals get done. Now, if you get to a certain level of big, if you're the NBA, you just have your own team to do that kind of stuff. And people are banging down your door to give you millions of dollars. But I mean, disc golf's not there yet.
No.
And Sean Jack's made, a lot of strides in doing this kind of thing. But having a group that's going to help, that's going to basically be this connection point, that's going to advocate on your behalf. And yeah, they're going to take a cut. Who knows what it is, probably 20%. But that is totally worth it in the long term to be able to get in front of a bunch of brands. And, because these brands come to a company like this because they want to be able to go out and sponsor all these various properties. And so now you're one of these properties that's being put on the block. This is huge. This is how you're going to see a big expansion in the number of sponsors that the Pro Tour is getting. So I don't really have a lot of additional details. This is just in the press release, but I'm going to be interested to hear more about how that came together.
Exciting news, to say the least.
All right. I mean, the other thing I want to say is that it just really is normalized now. It doesn't feel like a splashy news that they have a $302,000 purse. It's because we're now used to it being the biggest, and we know it's going to go up. But pretty cool. A lot of money on the line coming up. So before we get to USDGC, I want to take a quick look at some emails that came in. First, I want to take a mulligan. I mentioned that they need to bring back Masters Cup because we need some SoCal presence on the tour. Santa Cruz, it's sort of going down towards SoCal, but it's definitely in Northern California. It's only about 90 minutes south of San Francisco. And I think I've done this many times. For whatever reason, my California geography, I'm just if it's not San Jose or north, I'm yeah, that's SoCal. But it's actually pretty far, Josh. It's far.
I don't pretend to know anything about California geography, so I just listen and go along with it. I smile and wave. That's right.
That Masters Cup is in SoCal. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's 6 hours from LA or something. I probably got that wrong too. So then here comes another flood of email. But yeah, sorry about that. I got that wrong. Bailey in the Ulti-World Disc Golf Discord, which you can join and get all of our Upshot bonus segments, which, by the way, doing daily recap, live react shows in the Discord. $3.99 a month, discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. Bailey says, there's not a course in Southern California that I would be excited to see on tour. I critique the heck out of Elite Series courses, and we don't have any that could really compete. That's the difficulty hosting in a metro area. Metro areas do not allocate high-quality land to disc golf. And there you go. I mean, do you want to force an event there even if it's not optimized? I mean, because I mentioned Challenge at Goat Hill on Tuesday, and it's a nice tournament and it's a pretty golf course, but it's not an interesting track, really. I mean, it's fun to watch people throw it 600 feet, but it's wide open disc golf. There's nothing particularly interesting about the course.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what it would take. What are when you're looking at a golf course, if I was going to go around and I was told find the next Glendoveer on another golf course, what would be my list of criteria? Is it have to do with the kind of vegetation that exists in Oregon?
That's part of it. I think you need big ass trees.
Okay. So I mean, that's in consideration, right? That, and I don't have the answer off the top of my head. I don't think we need to have the answer, but that's my point is that I love Glendoveer, and I am one of the quickest people to tell you I don't like disc golf courses. I love Glendoveer. I think it's an excellent course. And if it can be replicated, I think the opportunities for disc golf tournaments in metro areas that don't have good like disc golf courses just exponentially increases. But we have to, like, it's got to be Glendoveer, not Goat Hill. That's the difference between success in implementing it in major metropolitan areas across the country and across the world, and a lackluster event that people just aren't super interested in.
Yeah. Statmando Evan mentioned something similar about Denver. You know, he went to college in Boulder and said there's just nothing that would come close to being ready to host an Elite Series. And I think this gets to like a longer term vision thing. And I'm sure the Pro Tour is thinking about this. You need to be developing a plan for how you're going to be near Los Angeles, in Denver, in the future. And it's going to require infrastructure development on the ground, right? Like, I feel like the Pro Tour's got to go to Discmania and be like, hey, you're in Colorado. We need you to build a world-class disc golf course in the Denver area. Like, how are we going to make that happen?
And we'll commit to so many years of coming to that event.
I mean, I'm sure there's some business way you could work it out, right?
Yep, I think so too.
And like, this is the next frontier for disc golf. It's going to be purpose-built courses. You know, it doesn't all have to be Eagles Crossing with many millions of dollars in development, but like, it's going to take public-private partnerships, and it's going to take like people being willing to buy land. And that's obviously harder if you want to, you know, it's expensive to buy a bunch of land in LA. So, you know, I think where there's a will, there's a way on this stuff, but it's also not something that you can expect immediately, right? Another note on scheduling stuff. Dan said in the email, upshot@ultiworld.com, I heard your comment about having a tournament somewhere between DC and New York. I submit to you the Delaware Disc Golf Challenge, which is renamed the Birdie Open for this year. It was held in Newark, Delaware, which is 2.5 hours from New York City, an hour from Philly, and an hour and 15 minutes from Baltimore, 2 hours and 15 minutes from DC. I know there were reasons why it was dropped from the tour, so it may not be the best idea, but it does kind of fit the bill. Yeah, I mean, look, the Delaware Disc Golf Challenge, I feel like, what's the name of that course? The Fort?
Iron Hill.
Iron Hill. What am I saying, the Fort? It sounds like a fort, Iron Hill.
Charlie's just asking for Mulligans this week.
Oh, God. I mean, I know the Fort is in Utah, but for some reason, Iron Hill made me think of a fort. It's a great course, right? I mean, it's a very dense, sort of difficult to present on video wooded course, but it's a very challenging track. The problem with that tournament is they couldn't, the leadership wasn't good enough. Their purse was like the worst on tour the last time it was an NT. And so, you know, if you want to do it there, fine, but you're going to have to come up with, like, you're going to have to meet the standards of the Elite Series, which I think is one of the challenges and why we maybe don't see so many new tournaments on tour.
Well, and when we brought over the national tour, let's just be really honest about the tournaments that were prioritized. People cared about Masters Cup, they cared about Beaver State Fling, and they cared about Music City Open. I mean, that's in DDO, which kind of waffled whether it was a national tour or Elite Series, because I think it had been both. But, you know, in terms of that national tour, Delaware was one of the least recognizable national tour events of any other slate. So when that was pulled over, it just didn't feel like a priority relative to getting Beaver State Fling on tour, for example.
Here's another one, Josh. Evan in the Discord, Statmando Evan, says, what about splitting up the Texas swing into 2 parts? Do Waco in March after LVC, then swing back to Austin either after Jonesboro or after DDO. What do you think about that?
If we insist on having 2 tournaments in Texas, I like the 3. 2. If we insist on having 2 Elite Series in Texas, I don't hate this idea. I actually kind of like it. I think it kind of as a one-off a elite event that is hit that, you know, you travel that way. I would have to look at the calendar and see exactly what that flow would look like. I don't have a problem with that. I think as a fan and a spectator, I would appreciate that. I would enjoy breaking it up. I think for people who are going to pay money to go spectate, that's also probably going to be the case. I am really interested to see what ticket sales look like for both of these events. And there's just, in my opinion, I've said this before about a single Texas state championships or Texas tournament that is billed as like the big Texas atmosphere. If we're going to have a swing, then fine, make it a swing, but like coordinate these events, do ticket packages for both or either, like make this swing like this package deal. And at the end, the Texas state coordinator can award a trophy to the champ of Texas who did the best over those 3 tournaments, right? And then there's that little side pot of, you got $5,000 prize and whatever, I don't know. I don't know what the title would be, right? Make it a little mini series that you award an award for. There are so many branding and marketing and spectator experience opportunities here, and just none of them happen. All it is just 3 weeks of Texas, and then we move on. And I feel like Texas could bring more. And so, I mean, if they're not going to, cut them in half. That works for me.
Well, I love the idea. So here's my pitch. Okay. It's a little different than Evan's, but I was looking at the map and I was thinking about how this might work. So here's, you come in and you do an event in Houston. Okay. So this year it's Texas State's, which is going to be silver, or next year is going to be in Houston.
Okay.
So you do an event in Houston right after LVC. So you drive from Vegas to Houston.
Okay.
And you do an event. Great. And then instead of hanging around Texas for like 3 more weeks, you just move on and you could do an event anywhere on the Gulf Coast. You know, you want to do something in Alabama, you want to do something in Mississippi, you want to do something in North Florida, all options.
Yep. Because
you're on your way east to Champions Cup anyway. But this would open up a spot in the calendar basically to do another event like in Florida. You know, it wouldn't be unreasonable to like have an event in Jacksonville or Tallahassee. You know, there's plenty of places that would be totally reasonable, and the weather's nice that time of year. So you do Houston, and then you kind of stay on the Gulf Coast. You're kind of hitting the South a little bit more, which is a little neglected at the moment. So then you go up to Champions Cup, you move on to Jonesboro, and then you just drive right down the road to Dallas, and you can either do Waco or you can do an event in Dallas proper. But, you know, pick your poison. But somewhere in the sort of Dallas to Austin area, or you could just go to Austin. That would be fine too. You could go to Austin. And, you know, you hit those 2 major metros of Dallas and Houston. And it's not going to be too, because like on the calendar at this point, you're looking at like early May. You know, it's starting to get hot, but I think it would be reasonable at that time of year still. I mean, you know, it's not like it's the middle of summer.
Right.
And then you go out to OTB, because this year Jonesboro is April 28th, 30th, and then OTB is May 12th to 14th. So you have this big gap for the drive anyway. Like, it's still a lot of driving. It might be a little tricky. You might have to move something one weekend here or there. But then you not only are you hitting the major metros in Texas, but you're hitting them at different times of year enough that it like people might go to both. I'm not going to go to both if they're back-to-back weeks. Why would I go to both? I would have to be a incredible disc golf fan to go to both. Yeah. So I like the concept, I got to say.
I do too. Yeah. If we're assuming we're keeping all the Texas parts, splitting it up makes a lot of sense.
We got this one from Rob, and then we're just about ready to move on. Rob says he's not happy with our critiques and the negativity that we brought towards this 2023 schedule. He said, what grows the game is consistency and happy pros and fans, not a zany schedule. Where is the appreciation for what TDs and the Disc Golf Pro Tour is doing to keep growing the game? In order for the purses to keep growing, established TDs and their teams need to keep working with sponsors to grow the purses. This is not happening with startup tournaments. Also, let's hear a little recognition of how little traveling between most tourneys the pros normally have to do. Many times there are only 4 hours of travel between events. Don't just focus on the 3 times they have to travel further. Well, first of all, I have no issues with the travel schedule at all. I mean, I don't really, if it came across as being critical of the travel, no, like the tour is so much more logical and sensible than it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes.
That's been a massive improvement. Massive. I mean, there's nothing you can do. At some point, you have to go from Appling, Georgia to California. It's going to be a long trip. There's no way around that. So I have no issues with the travel schedule. On the other side, yeah, I mean, I get your point. I don't have anything negative to say about the TDs who are running Elite Series events. Nothing. I think by and large, we're seeing purses go up every year. I mean, we do Purse Watch and we see it week in and week out. I think that there's a balance to be found between maintaining a lot of consistency, like you say, Rob, and finding ways to keep things fresh and interesting. And I think it's a little too much on the side of being the same, given that we've been told that we're going to see new Elite Series events, and then that really hasn't happened very much. The pace of new events has been very slow. So that's just my personal thoughts.
Rob, you say that happy fans also is what is important and what grows the game. And I think it's important that we do have those new tournaments because it does create fan engagement because it's a long season. It's a long season with a lot of events, and there are events that people are always going to tune into, but there are going to be events that people are going to be just less engaged. It might be other sports. It might be family events, whatever that is. The trick is creating a palette or this plate of events that allows me, like if I have a family event, it's still a new tournament. So I'm interested enough that I'm going to go back and watch post, even if I can't get live. I'm not going to do that for like Waco. If I have a family reunion over Waco, I will probably just watch UDisc. I probably won't go back unless something crazy happens and watch post produce. That's me personally, right? That's just how I feel in general. But now you in that world where you create new events, I think people go out of their way in order to engage with those events a little bit more, keeping, those happy fans as you talk about. The other thing I want to make note of is Des Moines wasn't on the tour 3 years ago, and it just broke the record for a 3-day tournament on the Elite Series events.
Great point.
It's possible. It requires savvy marketing and local businesses who are interested and willing to participate, but it can be done. And especially in a world where disc golf sponsorship is rapidly increasing, I don't agree that it takes 15 years in order to build up the purses to reach the point of an Elite Series event. I think Des Moines proved to us, and not every city is going to be like Des Moines, but I think Des Moines proved to us that there are going to be cities around this country who would be willing to host Elite Series events and put money into it in order to match the Disc Golf Pro Tour requirements.
Well, because think about it this way. Remember that what is the Pro Tour bringing to these local events? They don't own these events.
No.
They don't own these events. They say, hey, we're going to show up. We're going to bring a ton of media, and we're going to bring all the players. And so you already have, you don't have to try to recruit people to come play your event. You can say, all right, we have this course. We're going to get it ready for, a gold layout. And then we're going to go out to businesses. And we're going to say, hey, we're starting up this new tournament. It's on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Here's what you can expect to see. We're going to have 100 of the world's best players. We're going to have live streaming coverage. We're going to have this, that, and the other thing. You show them a highlight package of video.
Yep.
And you say, you're going to get in front of this many eyeballs. This is how many people normally watch the live streams. And here's how many people we were expecting to come out from the local community. Like our disc golf club is X size, blah, 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 blah. And you say, we think we're going to sell 2,000 tickets or whatever. And you say, we're looking for, $15,000 to be the title sponsor or whatever.
Easy
I'm not saying that these kinds of TDs and organizers grow on trees. I know they don't.
Yes.
But the whole point of the Disc Golf Pro Tour's business model on the event side is that they are bringing all of this to your tournament. and therefore you should be able to then sell that to sponsors to get added cash to put into the pot.
Mm-hmm.
So love your point about Des Moines. It's totally true. Like, that's been one of the biggest payouts on tour now for a couple years, and it's basically was a fill-in tournament after what I forget now what happened. Oh, we lost Europe, right?
Yeah, because of COVID.
Because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so they're like, boom, Des Moines.
Yep.
Good point.
So
All
maybe
right,
it's
let's move
3
on.
years? Anyway, don't mulligan me. I can't remember if it's been 3 years at Des Moines or 2.
Well, it was 2020 was its first year, right? So 3.
Yeah, so 3. Okay, 3 years.
Okay, last thing here. Steve says, to one of my points, Ledgestone and DDO have proven you can have an elite event with a large amateur side that still looks, feels, and pays like an elite event. I think this is in reference to the U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championships having a large am side and then also an elite side. Yes. I don't have anything to add to that. 100%. If the PDGA wants to make the U.S. Women's FPO tournament feel more like a major, they can do it. It's totally doable.
I guess the only other thing I would add is I've seen some of the comments about U.S. Women's being the fact that you get to play the same courses as the pros. One of the big distinctions between Ledgestone and DDO is that both of those are in really concentrated disc golf centers where you can put the AMs on courses not where the professionals are playing. So there are multiple facilities, and it's basically running simultaneous tournaments rather than one combined tournament. I think that's a really big distinction that makes DDO and Ledgestone so successful that I think is, like you mentioned, the model kind of how that looks and feels as professional as it does.
The PDGA just sent out yesterday a survey to its members about transgender participation in the sport. Josh, can you read us the email and what this survey is all about?
Yeah, got the email this morning. I filled out the survey as well. They say that we need your opinion on transgender participation in disc golf. This is a university research study questionnaire linked below this university research study is about transgender people's participation in the sport. It should take 6 to 8 minutes. You can do it on your phone. The summary results of the survey may be used to inform PDGA policies or published in an academic journal. And then lots of stuff about how it is confidential and you must be 18. The legal requirements that they got to put in.
So, yeah, this survey is looking basically for your opinions on transgender participation in the sport, kind of like breaking down along like political and ethical lines. I think it's pretty like, Josh, do you think they're going to use this data to make policy?
I don't know, because I feel like it comes at a time when the PDGA announced a medical board that was going to advise recommendations to make this decision. To me, what this posturing says is that because they are not going to solely consider scientific fact, right? And the evidence that they find via the medical board, if they are reaching out in order just to do a political opinion survey as well as an opinion survey on this, because there are a lot of questions about political ideology, demographics, and questions that are kind of designed around this sense of liberal versus conservative political questioning. I mean, I did a lot of these surveys when I was in college doing political science. It's very much about gaining an understanding and a perspective of the political leanings of the PDGA, and then how they feel about transgender competition in the sport. It's interesting because I feel like the PDGA has announced, we're doing the medical board. We're going to be looking specifically at scientific research to determine what the decision is going to be. And then to go and ask this survey, it just signals to me that it's at least going to be it's going to be a multifaceted decision, and that I don't think either source of information are going to be the sole determining factor in the PDGA's policy decision moving forward.
I mean, look, if this was an easy topic that was simply solved by a study, like a scientific study, we would have already solved it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not about that. I can't really add that much more to what I've said on the show in the past. Are you gonna choose maximizing fairness, or are you gonna choose maximizing inclusion? Because I do think that they are at odds with one another. Now, the degree to which they are at odds, we're still determining that. But I think the limited scientific research that exists on this is fairly straightforward. If you've gone through male puberty and you are a trans woman, you are going to retain some benefits of your having gone through male puberty, whether that's, just like body structure and bone structure, strength, etc. Some of those advantages dissipate in some sports, particularly like long endurance type sports. But in a power sport like disc golf, I think you're going to see that there are some advantages retained, and therefore you're making a choice between, okay, do we accept this variation or do we not? And the thing is, the fact that you're having a study sent out by the PDGA where they want to get people's opinions about this topic, not the science, right? This is what people want to see. And you can certainly go online and see that there is a wide spectrum of beliefs about this topic in the disc golf world. And, there's a lot of disgusting and sort of shameful behavior from a lot of people, particularly about Natalie Ryan's participation. But like, if it's going to be an opinion thing, then, why is the medical committee involved? I mean, I don't know. Like, this is a really difficult topic. The PDGA has a very hard set of decisions coming up. And again, I think it's like very clear to me that like the reason this has been so challenging for everybody in the sports world is that it really is, it's like an ideological thing more than it has been some kind of like black and white scientific. It's either, they don't have an advantage or they do have an advantage, because it just depends on the sport. And it also depends on whether you care about that. Like, do you care that some people are going to maybe have an advantage, but like you want to include them in the competition? I don't know. It's not an easy answer, right? And I'm going to go insane if I see another person say, well, Natalie Ryan should just play an MPO because it's mixed professional open. Let's not kid ourselves. Okay? Let's not kid ourselves. It's the men's division. And if you want to say Natalie Ryan should play in the men's division, you're saying Natalie Ryan should be playing in a division for a gender for which she does not identify, and you're saying she should have a disadvantage. Mm-hmm. Because they're definitely she's going to have a disadvantage playing in the men's division. Yes, I know technically it's the mixed division, but there's just the bad faith is brutal. And I guess big thing I'll say, fill out the survey if you're a PDGA member.
Yep. Take
it seriously and make your opinion heard. However you feel about the topic.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got to say on the topic.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're talking all things USDGC. We're making our picks, and we're breaking it all down as we get ready to start in Rock Hill. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday, hopefully morning, before you tune in for Throw Pink and USDGC. We'll be right back. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. Did you know that Pound makes more than disc golf backpacks? That's right. They've got beverage carriers. I've got one. They're awesome. They've got travel bags like the Fly Pack. You can even get a toolbox to have a practice bag in the trunk of your car, a fanny pack, packing cubes, and a whole lot more. Go to PoundDiscGolf.com and trick yourself out with Pound bags for every aspect of your bag needs.
Sunset Lake CBD is a hemp farm located just outside of Burlington, Vermont. For years, Sunset Lake produced milk for Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and in 2019, they diversified and started growing hemp for CBD. Sunset Lake CBD believes that their farm table approach is the best way for you to get responsibly produced, high-quality CBD products that actually work. Sunset Lake CBD crafts topicals, gummies, oils, and more to help with stress, aches, and sleep. When I went disc golfing this past weekend, I threw a forehand that just didn't sit right, went back, used a massage Theragun and the CBD salve, and iced it for a while. It just feels amazing. They smell great as well, which is not the case always. And I really enjoy using the salve when I'm done disc golfing after tournaments. I use it in between rounds at long tournaments for recovery. Highly recommend using that salve. It's a great product. Check them out today at sunsetlakecbd.com and use coupon code UPSHOT for 20% off all products. Sunset Lake CBD, farmer owned, Vermont grown.
Welcome back to the Upshot. It is time to talk USDGC and Throw Pink. First, I want to hit you with some mulligans. We did our course preview show last week and made a couple of errors there. I was looking at a caddy book that I thought was from 2021, but I think was actually from previous year. So I mentioned that there was not a Mando on 18 last year, and now there is. Untrue. There was a Mando on 18 last year. I also said that hole 9's sort of fairway shape was different. Well, it was different in the past, but it wasn't different from last year. So I don't know. I found some archived page on the USDGC website, so I apologize for the error. Couple other small notes. Hole 2's pin. We talked about the tee pad position changing. The pin position also changed. It's moved further to the right. It's adjacent to the parking lot and a little closer to the fence line. So there's some more room to work with on that side. And I love this, Josh. Hole 5's pin has been pulled closer to the corner and a lot closer to the water. That's going to make putting on that green a lot more spicy than it already was.
Yes, it's really that second or third shot usually is going to be a real second or third, depending on the quality of your throws, is going to be a real interesting test to see how close do you want to push to that basket to set up the easy putting. Because if you're 50 feet out and you're right next to that water, I think some players are going to give very soft bids, but ones that are going to significantly decrease their chances of making that putt. If you push too close, though, you might. I think you're going to see players who really try and just stick it close, because if they go OB, as long as they crossed in bounds, the point is to blast over the basket. And then if you skip out, then you should have at least, I'd have to see it in person. Obviously, this is going off of our information that we have, but at least you're close enough to save that putt. Whereas if you go long, it's a whole question about whether or not you stay in bounds. Do you run it? So that's kind of what I would expect to see. I think the strategy and the advantage is still just to try and stick it as close to the basket as possible, but it's definitely going to add some drama.
Yeah, it's going to just make it harder to get close. Like, if you want to get close, you're going to have to test that water. Whether you're coming in on a forehand side and you want to land it really close to the edge to keep it close to the basket, or if you're coming in with a backhand hyzer, it's, you have to make sure that you don't skip it into the water. But I think you're right. I think we're going to see people probably try to be aggressive and just make sure they get it over land and give themselves a chance at the putt. So going to be interesting change. I like the new pin position quite a bit. So that's some quick notes on the course, and hearing mixed things from pros about the challenge out there. It sounds like the front 9 is going to play a little tougher than it has in the past. I mean, the new hole 3 is going to be really hard. I think I saw Brody say on Twitter that he was playing a practice round with 7 players, and the closest look at birdie was 45 feet. So, you're going to have 2 really, really, really good shots to even have a look, and your look is probably going to be from circle 2. So we'll see how many birdies that hole ends up giving out, but may prove to be a little too tough. We'll find out. And then, the back 9, I think, is pretty scoreable. It's pretty scoreable. It feels like maybe you used to see people go 5 down through 5 at USDGC regularly. That may not happen anymore.
Yeah. It definitely feels like the flow of the course. This is the biggest point I think about these changes. I think the flow is going to be significantly different. Even if only hole 3 is significantly more difficult, right? Let's say hole 2 still is very accessible, very birdieable. If every other hole was still just as accessible and easy, and you're able to get 5, you're not too worried about the island because you threw a great shot. The flow about where difficulty comes is now changing. And I think there's something to be said for that, because that hot momentum, that changes the way that you feel about the round. It changes the strategy about what you feel like you need to do on the back 9. It may mean you take a more conservative approach by the time you reach hole 17 and early rounds especially. Right? There are lots of factors that go into the way that a course flows and how you play relative to that. And to put what feels like speed bumps in the areas where the flow was regularly established, I think is a brilliant use of strategy, and goes to the point of what we've talked about Winthrop, about their ability to really challenge the golf side of disc golf.
All right. So, by the way, you said 2 shots on hole 5. I mean, I guess if you're double G.
It's primarily 3. I think most are going to be going over after 3 in hindsight. Yeah.
Yes. But double G did go over in 2. There's a sweet highlight. Check it out.
Great eagle.
Okay, so now it's time to talk about, how players are going to try to attack this course. And only twice has a player won back-to-back USDGCs. Okay, so Climo did it in the first 2 years of the tournament, 99 and 2000. And then Will Schusterick did it in 2010 and 2012. 2011 was the weird, performance flight, sort of not USDGC thing. It's a total disaster. So he has the back-to-back there. But Macbeth has never done it back-to-back, and we haven't seen it, in 10 years, basically. So will Macbeth be able to add himself to that list? He brought over his caddy from the European Open. He says he has unfinished business. Obviously, he's going to have a great chance to win. I think he's probably got to be looked at as the favorite coming in here, right, Josh?
I think so. We've talked about this in the past. When Macbeth creates a chip on his shoulder, even if it's an imaginary chip, it's when he plays best. He's been very focused at the majors this year. Champions Cup was a blemish, but European Open, as we've talked about, best disc golf of the season, and then is able to win Worlds despite not playing his best. I really think that he looks real. You've got to like Macbeth going into USDGC, especially given the talk around the consistency versus the importance of the majors. If you're Paul and you want to just put the nail in the coffin, just win USDGC and say look, I show up when it matters. And just because this eagle came out of nowhere and stole this European Open trophy out of my hands, doesn't. I could have 3 majors this season in a season where we've got 4 of them. It's incredibly impressive, and I think with the caddy and the unfinished business, you've got to feel like Paul is coming for this title.
Missy Gannon, of course, the defending champion at the Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championship, and remember last year, right? Missy had this great close of the season. She won Throw Pink, and then she won the Pro Tour Championship. She set the single season highest payday record in FPO for a season. And, now has earned the name Big Money Missy, coined in the Ultra World Disc Golf Discord and on this program. Now that it's everywhere, Discraft's putting Big Money Missy on a stamp. Okay, I'm going to need to see the checks coming in for that. Josh, Upshot needs to get some discs to give away with the Big Money Missy stamp.
I need to go back in the live Discord because I think it was during a live React show that somebody coined Big Money Missy.
Patrick
and I
Auburn,
need to go back and look.
Patrick Auburn. The Discord. Patrick Auburn, writer, head of power rankings at Ultra World Disc Golf. He was the original coiner of the phrase.
Go Patrick.
Go Patrick.
You're famous now.
But it's funny. So I'm looking back, right, at last year, and I'm like, yeah, she won a big payday. And I looked at it, and it was $6,000. Which, it's a nice payday, but
that's a nice payday.
Most of the Elite Series tournaments this year paid more than that for FPO winner. $9,000 for the FPO winner. Last couple tournaments. So
I think it was that in combination with obviously winning the DGPT championship shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
So
no doubt. But still, Throw Pink was like a big payday. 6,000 was really good last year. It just shows you like we're seeing big expansions of, winners checks. Now remember, last year was really interesting because Paige was way out in front after 2 rounds, and then had one of the worst rounds that she's ever played. I mean, just absolute disaster. She took 14 penalty strokes. She triple bogeyed hole 1, and it never got any better. She quad bogeyed 18, and like just completely dropped herself from the lead to entirely out of contention. It was wild. And then we had the Missy and Valerie Mondahano battle. Other players in the mix as well. But remember, Missy went OB on 17 with a 2-stroke lead in the final round. And so then Valerie Mondahano steps up with a chance to, maybe cut it to a tie going into 18. And she went OB, and then she went OB again from the drop zone. And, total collapse. And this is like the closest she'd ever been to winning a big tournament. It's like clearly emotionally crushed by the mistakes. And then Missy went on to comfortably win it on 18. But it was an interesting tournament because Missy was just sort of steady as she goes, and other players were kind of like having these collapse moments. Do you see Missy as the favorite this year, Josh, after what she did last year?
I don't think Missy's the favorite. I think, and we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to picks and a special segment we're going to have, but Winthrop rewards people who have good game plans and can execute those game plans. That has always been true. I think it's a course that offers that kind of opportunity to develop that game plan on each individual hole. And Missy is one of the best at making a game plan and then sticking to her game plan. I don't know if I'd consider her the favorite, but I think that her style of game is strongly suited to playing well at Winthrop, as was demonstrated by last year, and I don't think was just a coincidence.
And I don't think we need to bury the lead. I mean, Kristen Tatar is going to be the favorite because Kristen Tatar also is somebody who really does an effective job of sticking to a game plan, Josh, and is executing at an insanely high level right now. So she'll be the favorite. 64% per UDisc's win probability. Next highest player, Paige, 6%. I don't know about all that, but I certainly think Kristen is the favorite, and may even be like the favorite against the field, like minus odds.
Yeah,
I think it's possible. So
Charlie, I've got a game for you that we can play.
Let's do it.
I call the game Win Cash Cut.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a list of 3 players, and we can alternate. You have to pick a player who's going to win, player who will just make cash, and a player who's going to miss the cut.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun, and it's also like with especially like we'll get to it anyway. I've thought a lot about some of these. So The first one, let's just do what I think is the top based on the composite power rankings and available field as well as past winners. I'm going to give you Paul, Ricky, and Chris Dickerson.
Oh my God. I have to pick one of these players to miss the cut?
You have to pick one of these players to miss the cut. Little outrageous, but I mean, yeah.
Wow. Look, I think like on the average, right? And this is not necessarily indicative of my picks for the tournament. I'm going to go with Paul wins. Chris cashes. No. Ricky cashes. Chris misses the cut.
I think by this season, that's probably the correct.
That's horrible.
The correct ranking.
That's horrible. Yeah. Okay, let me give you one.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to keep it in the same vein.
Okay.
Win cash cut. Kristen, Paige, and Missy.
Oh.
I think this one's easy, kind of.
I think so. All right, I'm going to say you got to pick Kristen for win.
Yeah.
You've got to pick Missy for cash. I mean, just the most consistent. I think Paige just said before, if she's either going to win or she's going to she's going to take dead last because she can try and throw everything in. So I think Paige is probably would be the one most likely to miss the cut.
Paige's aggressiveness can absolutely cause her to like miss the cut here. I mean, it's totally possible. She could both win by 10 strokes or miss the cut. Like that's where we're at.
Here, Charlie, let me give you 3 people who are in the same vein as that just description of Paige. Henna, Evelina, and Haley.
Right now, the way they are playing, Henna win.
Okay.
Henna could win. Like
Henna
I want to just put it out there. Like Henna could absolutely win this weekend. Her precision with power right now is unmatched. And that is a huge skill at Winthrop. Okay. I'm going to go Haley, Cash, Evelina, cut.
Interesting.
Could go the other way there.
I think it goes the other way, but I think that's very solid.
Okay, Josh, how about Calvin Heimberg, Gannon Bird, James Conrad?
Oh, I can't believe I have to pick one of these guys to miss the cut. I'm gonna pick Gannon to Cash. Like I'm gonna pick Gannon to Cash.
Yep.
Now I've got to pick between Calvin, who almost chased down Chris Dickerson, or James Conrad, who's won this tournament before. Oh shoot. This season I'm gonna go with who I think Calvin is more likely to miss Cash than James is. So I'm going to go James win, Gannon Cash, Calvin miss cut.
I didn't think you were going to do it, but I agree with you.
It hurts. Okay. Joel Freeman, Aaron Gossage, Kyle Klein.
Wow. These are like 3 guys who I could all see in the top 10. Like they all are. I mean, Joel was close to winning this tournament before his putter went ice cold. Kyle was in the playoff last year. And, Aaron Gossage, I think this course sets up super well for power forehand. But Aaron Gossage, sorry, you're going to take the cut. I think although it sets up well for power forehand, it's more punitive with slight mistakes. And I think that could mean like things go bad in a hurry. For the win, I'm going to go Joel. I think Joel has shown, I mean, they both have shown that they can really attack this course effectively. But the way he's playing this season gives me like belief that he can do it. I'm going to go with Kyle. I'm going to say Cash, but I like both, really all 3 guys to have good tournament.
I do too.
Okay. How about Valerie Mondahano, Missy, and Owen? Imagining any of those 3 missing the cut is almost impossible.
Well, and what's so hard is like we've got the 2 contenders last year for the title in the same group, and then Own. Okay, I am going to go, and this probably is. I'm just going to go purely on this season. But that doesn't even make complete sense. All right. I've got Valerie missing the cut.
Wow.
Missy cashing, Own winning.
Wow.
I think Valerie has had the lowest lows of any of these players this season.
Yeah, but she's had the highest highs too.
But she's had the highest highs. I know.
I think I would take Valerie to win, Own to cash, and Missy Missy to miss the cut. I mean, I don't know.
Did you just hear what you said, though?
I don't know what to tell you.
Big money missing the cash.
Oh, no.
I just can't even say that with a straight face. Oh.
All right, 2 more. What you got for me?
All right, I let's do the Europeans on the men's side.
Okay.
Linus Carlson, Nicholas Antila, Lauri Lettinen.
Who's going to be the best out here at Winthrop? I'm going to say Linus to win, Nicholas to cash, Lowry to miss.
I think I flipped Nicholas and Lowry, but yeah, I agree with Linus being the best. And real quick, that actually brings me to one of my over-unders for you, Charlie.
Okay, let's go.
Top European finisher on the MPO side, 9.5.
This is a classic
and I'm not even
over-under.
It's classic. It's one of my favorites. But here's what makes this one interesting. I'm not going to caveat Simon. You can include Simon as a European finisher. He's terrible at the majors. He's terrible at USDGC. The guy forgot to register for the event.
He did, in fact, get in registered, so he will be participating in the tournament.
He will.
Yeah, he's really played poorly here in the past. I mean, he's laid down some all-time stinkers at USDGC. But you know what? Honestly, I got to do it. I got to take the over.
Meaning,
I don't know. I'm saying
they will not be 10 or worse.
Yeah,
okay.
I think we're not going to see a European player in the top 10.
Okay.
Well, I guess I get 10.
Well,
right?
you get 10.
I get 10, but not 9 or better. Yeah,
not 9 or
better. That's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I like it though.
Thank you.
All right, last one for you. Holland Hanley, Ella Hansen, Emily Beach. It's the power trio.
The power trio. I think I'm gonna go Holland to win, Ella to cash, Emily to cut.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Sounds right to me. All right. That's going to bring us to our picks. And Josh, do you want to start or do you want to go second? Up to you.
I'm going to go first. I tried changing my strategy for around you and it went horribly wrong because Calvin decided he didn't want to play disc golf that weekend. So I'm just going to go with it.
Okay.
I'm just going to make my picks and hope that I get a perfect podium.
Let's rock.
In FPO, in third place, I've got Big Money Missy. My entire theme you're going to see on FPO side is about players who have a solid game plan and execute their game plan, even under pressure situations. I think that's going to be the key at Winthrop, especially for Throw Pink. It does reward power, but above all, it rewards power. And because the OBs are designed to be kind of like, it's not just punishing OB, right? It almost feels random. It's not, but I think that even power isn't going to be sufficient here. I really think it's about game plan. I've got Big Money Missy in third. My second place is Owen Scoggins, a player who is going to be able to execute her game plan. And number one, then I've got Kristen Tatar. I don't have anything else to add. Those three players I feel are the best in our sport right now at making game plans, executing them, and defying all odds of regardless of what course they're on. And this is the course that is just like welcoming them home. I think all three of them are going to play great this weekend.
We're back at Winthrop, baby. I'm going third place, Henna Blomroos. Like I said earlier, I think she has the tools to win, but over 4 rounds, it's just hard for me to trust the putter enough. Just too many, blow up holes. But I think we're going to see her just absolutely shredding off the tee. It's going to be awesome to watch. I hope she gets up on the lead card. So we can watch her attack. I have Valerie Mondahano in second place. I mean, I really like the way she played here last year. And I think this is like a really nice opportunity for her to feel confident and come out and have a nice finish to the season after, having some really nice, a really nice start and some really nice tournaments earlier in the year and kind of, struggling a little bit more in the second half. And in the first place, I've got Kristen. I mean, look, it's just the combination of skills that she has feels like it's perfectly suited to executing and winning at Winthrop. Will we see Paige have a bounce back weekend? I mean, neither of us have her in the top 3. It's just too risky to pick Paige right now. I mean, as much as I could see her playing great and winning, I could also see her, just never even getting started. And just never even getting a foothold. It's happened too much lately. So, I've got Henna, Valerie, and Kristen. And I guess I'll go first for MPO.
Take it over.
Okay, here we go. This is tough. I mean, I'll tell you what. This is tough. This tournament, it just delivers. We're going to have a close battle down the stretch. I think it's been a one-stroke win like 4 years in a row or something. Like, it's just been super tight. And I think we're going to see that again this year. I've got Chris Dickerson in third place. Chris answered any concerns that I had about his performance this year by the way that he played at GMC. So I am ready for Chris Dickerson to come back out here and show you why he is great at Winthrop. In second place, I'm just calling it right now, folks. This is going to be a Ricky versus Paul classic throwback. Think about the setup we have, right? We have the back and forth battle between these guys. It's almost like the Cold War. They're like not directly addressing each other, but they're both talking about how their accomplishments are the most important accomplishments. And Ricky's going on, and he beats Paul by this much to win the points title. And he's talking about the consistency that he has. And Paul's like, well, what about the majors, bro? This is where it's going to go down. This is the bragging rights tournament. I've got Paul in second. I've got Ricky getting his first USDGC title, folks. Put it in the books. He's been the best player so far this season, week in and week out, and he's been top 5 at USDGC for like 6 years in a row. Okay? This dude has come close. And yes, I know we've seen him have some high-profile failures, but we also saw him get a really, really nice win at GMC where he had to clutch up late, and he did. And he did. I think Ricky is poised to win number 1 and cap off a great season. All
right. I do not. Spoiler. Over on the MPO side, I have Joel Freeman in third place. As you said, he's come close before, and I really feel like he's going to carry the Butler County win into the confidence needed to finish a good final round. I think that's going to get him on the podium. He has the skills that have shown that he can play well here, and he's had his best season ever in his career, and I think he caps it off with a nice podium finish at USDGC. My second place finisher is Isaac Robinson. Isaac has progressed. Look, here's why. I think Isaac has a game that's very similar to the reasons that Joel Freeman won this, or not, excuse me, Joel Freeman. I just talked about Joel Freeman. The reasons that James Conrad won this tournament. It is an excellent putter with consistent backhand that allows him to control all angles. It's a tournament, even when he was in college, that he always made sure to play. In 2021, he took 8th. In 2020, he took 15th. In 2019, he was 21st. 2018, he was 61st. Yes. And now he's got his first full year on tour. These are all when he was playing, literally, he would play Ledgestone and USDGC, and that is it. And he's bumping his way all the way up to 8th place without touring. It's just such a successful story to begin with. And I really think that this is a year that he's going to be able to break out, get on the podium, and I'm really excited to see it. But my winner, Paul McBeth. When Paul creates art back to back, when Paul creates artificial drama, creates the artificial chip on his shoulder, and has the fuel from the Ricky feud, and is bringing his caddy out and wants the back to back, all of those things contribute to a McBeth who I think, we've talked about it before, McBeth gets better under pressure, and he has put himself in a pressure cooker right now for this tournament. It may mean he blows up. It may mean he doesn't come anywhere close. I think, though, with McBeth, we've seen in the past at majors with that kind of pressure, he excels. I think we're going to see McBeth take the third ever back-to-back title defense.
You know, he's not going to blow up. The only time we've ever really seen him blow up at Winthrop is when he was hurt.
Blow up meaning outside of, I don't know, top 10.
I get your point. Macbeth blow up doesn't finish in the top 5.
Right.
All right, there they are. The picks are in the books. Josh doesn't have Ricky in his podium. All right. I've got a over-under for you.
Okay.
12.5. No, I'm going to go lower. 10.5 birdies on hole 3. MPO.
On hole 3 MPO on the weekend?
Yes.
I'm going to take the under.
Under 10.5. I'm glad I lowered the number. Yeah. Okay. All right. It's going to be really interesting to see.
It is. I wish I knew who the 7 players Brody was playing with. Watch him. He's like, yeah, I brought the qualifiers out for a round for our YouTube vlog.
All right. Well,
Brody.
Can't wait to talk more. it's Thursday right now, of course. So join us tonight in the Discord for a live React show. Again, you can join for less than $4 a month. discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. And it's so much fun to watch the tournament with the Discord open as well. So DGN has all the action this week. Nothing on YouTube, folks. You got to wait 30 days if you want it on YouTube. So if you have a DGN subscription, you get all of the content from USDGC and Pro Pink. See you in Rock Hill, everybody. Talk to you tonight if you're a subscriber.